Hi, everyone. Good to see you all again. It's a joy, as always, to be teaching you on this joyous Friday. I hope you're all having a wonderful week. It's already wrapping up our first week of the Bad Website Club Bootcamp, which is kind of wild, isn't it? Like, we're already done with the first week. Gosh. But I hope it's been a positive experience. And okay, let's do the stuff that needs to be done. If you're tuning in for the first time, hi, I'm Carmen. Jess, Edna, and I are teaching a series of lessons in collaboration with Free Code Camp. This is the Bad Website Club Web Development Bootcamp, completely free. If you're catching this for the first time, don't worry, everything's recorded. If you go on youtube.com/ at Bad Website Club, you'll find all of the recordings there. If you want to join the discussion, feel free to do so on Discord. This is the Free Code Camp Discord. Go to discord.gg/ capital K, capital V, capital U, lowercase m, capital V, capital X, capital A. If you want to keep up with the upcoming sessions, please feel free to drop by badwebsite.com. But I got this. Badwebsite.club /bootcamps /spring-2026. And yes, by joining this bootcamp, you agree to abide by our code of conduct. Please, if you see anything out of sorts, feel free to let us know and we'll get on it. That's badwebsite.club /code-of-conduct. Whew, okay, that is all of the links. Now let's talk about what we'll be covering today. And today's lesson is going to be pretty similar to yesterday. So let me just bring up my screen real quick and get rid of this link. There we go. Bring up my screen. So today is part 4 of our HTML extravaganza. Let's go over what the homework was. And again, if you're just catching up, don't worry, we'll be covering a lot of this stuff as well. So your homework was to do a little reading about the script element in HTML, about understanding how HTML affects SEO or search engine optimization, specifically around meta descriptions and open graph tags. Then we'll be working through this Build a Travel Agency Page lab together, just talking through it a little bit, just like we did yesterday with the other lab. So I'll give you some of the groundwork and then let you all go and really take it on. And one of the pieces of homework was also to work through the steps of the Build a Bookstore page and bring your questions here. There's a couple of new things covered in this workshop, so I'll be showing a little bit of those, but we'll be taking care of all of that. What I ask you folks is to please bring in all of your questions. This is the time to ask what comes to mind in terms of HTML, what we've been learning. So please don't be shy. I think answering questions, frankly, is one of the best ways to learn. We also got some great questions over on Discord yesterday. So if you haven't joined the Discord yet, I do recommend doing so, as well as for showing off the projects you've been working on. I saw some cool recipe pages yesterday. One about like the recipe for a perfect day. I really liked that one. It made me happy. So yeah, keep those coming. All right, then, let's start by looking at a couple of the bookstore page steps. Now, I had a link here that I had open, not this one. Not this one either. Bear with me, folks. Yes. So I wanted to jump ahead to step 12. And if you haven't gotten to step 12, don't worry. Just wanted to cover a little bit of what's new here. So here's what we have in our bookstore so far. And we'll just take our time and read through the HTML. So we've got our HTML tag with a head and a body. Great. That body consists of an H1, XYZ bookstore, a P with browser collection of amazing books. Then we have a div, which has the class card container. So this is a container of cards. We're just reading through this. We don't know what the card container div does. We just know this div has the class card container. Cool. So inside that div is another div with the class card and the ID Sally Adventure Book. Notice it's with dashes like we saw yesterday, no spaces. the H2 Sally's sci-fi adventure, and the paragraph, this is an epic story of Sally and her dog Rex as they navigate through other worlds. Now, this is what I wanted to start looking at today. The button element is used to create clickable buttons on a web page. Buttons are, this text is tiny, folks. I'm sorry. There we go. I hope that's better. Please tell me if it's not. Buttons are interactive elements that allow users can click to perform actions. So this is the first bit of real interactivity that we're adding to our websites. Add a button element. Add a button element inside the element. Let me read that again. Add a button element inside the element that has the class card, and give the button a class attribute set to button and the text buy now. Now that's a lot to take in at once, and I like to really go at this step by step. So add a button element inside the element that has class card. So, okay, this div has the class card. So inside of it, I'm just going to add a button. I'm only going to focus on the button. Cool. Now there's a button. You can actually see it here. It's kind of tiny. That's because it has no text. Now, give the button a class attribute set to btn. Can do. So class equals btn. Now that shouldn't in theory change anything because there's still no content. But this button is going to have the text buy now. So inside that button, we will put in the text buy now. So great, now we have a button. It says buy now. And y'all might be wondering, okay, but what does this button do? And if I click it, check it out. I don't know if you can hear my mouse, but it's clicking. And that means that the button's getting clicked, but as you can tell, nothing is happening. And in fact, if I open the console here in FreeCodeCamp, our test output will go here, but if I click on buy now, nothing happens. And that's to be expected. In fact, if we check our code, congratulations, our code passes. I like to pat myself on the back, pat, pat, and move on to the next exercise. And people are saying, thank you for boosting the font size. Absolutely sorry that I didn't boost it before. If y'all need it boosted more, just tell me. Like I can't read y'all's minds. You need to tell me. Great. So now we're going to create a second book card. Add another div element with the class attribute set to card. Cool. Can do. Div class set to card. Close that div. And that works. Pat, pat. We'll just do a couple more of these, and you can see that really we want to focus on each individual step at a time. Add an ID attribute to your second element that has a class card and set its values to Dave Cooking Book. So ID set to Dave-Cooking-Book. Notice, as always with IDs and classes, just like with any other HTML attribute, it's surrounded in quote marks and there's no spaces. It's with dashes. Click on check our code, it passes, pat, pat, and we move on to the next one. Cool. So as you all know, we're doing this completely for free. FreeCodeCamp also provides all of this content for free, but you're under no obligation to do so right away. But if you have a few bucks lying around, please feel encouraged to donate. This is what keeps FreeCodeCamp alive. So I'm going to click on Ask Me Later because this is not my main account. So I think I'm going to stop here for now. Really what I wanted to showcase was that button class, and this is built into every browser. And what's interesting about the button class is that it could look slightly different depending on what operating system, that is Windows, Linux, Mac OS, iOS, iPad OS, Android, KaiOS, I think it's called. I think that's the most popular phone operating system. Anyway, depending on your browser, depending on your operating system, the buttons could look a little different. So when we get into CSS, you're going to see that we actually spend quite a bit of time styling buttons, but it's always good to have a default as well. Great, let's move on, because now I want to talk about the build a travel agency page. And you're going to see that this is quite similar to what we were doing yesterday, but I still want to encourage all of you to follow the steps in this way that is test driven. And if you're not familiar, test driven development is a way of building software in a way that is informed by a set of automated programs called tests that check that the code is correctly written, that check if the website contains the requirements we need. So we have an app that we're going to be building, a travel agency page. Ooh, got a question already. Is it possible for us as an online community to create projects together and learn so many tech stuff together? I love socializing with people around the world. Well, me too. Gosh, I love this question. And you're asking, is it possible? I would say yes, absolutely. And part of the reason we provide this bootcamp is because we want all of you to be able to feel empowered and enabled to do that. So I would say, please connect, say, on Discord. We have our bootcamp discussion channel on Discord where y'all can go and connect and build together and learn together. Ask questions, answer questions. I love this question. Thank you. So yeah, we're going to be building our example project. So here's an example. I see your question. I'm going to come back to it. So we got Discover Italy, a paragraph, some packages, top itineraries with some photos and captions. Cool. So we got a quick question about buttons. Buttons in a div sit on a line left to right as long as there's enough space, right? I am so sorry. I don't think I understand your question. Buttons in a div sit in a line left to right as long as there's an oh. I think I know what you're asking. So you're asking, hold on. Let's go back to the build a bookshelf. Yes. Cool. So you're asking, we have a button, and if I put a button next to the button, aha. So you're asking, hey, are the buttons showing up next to each other? So what I did here was I copy pasted a bunch of buttons, right? Let's make this a little narrower and this a little wider. Yeah, by now, by 2, by 3, by 4. And you're saying, hang on a second. And this is a really valid question, and I'm very grateful for it. Buttons are not showing up below each other as we would expect paragraphs to. Check this out. So paragraphs appear below each other, but buttons appear next to each other. But what happens, because we're curious and we like to break things, check this out. I have a button, then a paragraph, and then a button. And the paragraph is between the two buttons. How come? This is because of what is called the default styling of buttons. So this gets a little bit into CSS. Oh, Dan Marino knows they aren't block elements. And that is completely correct. Thank you, Dan. They are inline block. And the name there implies what's going on, or inline. But this is a great question because, yes, by default, buttons have a different styling for how they are laid out, how they are displayed, right? Most elements in HTML are displayed in a block, one on top of the other. But by default, buttons are not. And that's why you see them next to each other. I believe when we get to forms, we're going to see something similar there too. I could be wrong. I'm going to say right away about buttons in a div sitting next to each other. Don't worry about that too much yet. And also, I forgot. I think I should comment. I think this is important to point out. I forgot that buttons sit next to each other. Why? Because my job is not to memorize that. My job is to memorize where I can go to find that out, or how I can apply that knowledge. So don't worry too much if you're like, oh my gosh, should I memorize whether buttons are inline or blocked? Nah, no. Don't worry about that. But it's a good question. Thank you. Right, let's go back to build a travel agency. Oh, Eda, thank you. Can always check online resources like MDN or Mozilla Developer Network on how buttons are laid out and all of the other HTML elements. So back to our travel agency. Thank you, Dan Marino. Thank you. Back to our travel agency. Yeah, just like yesterday, we have a set of user stories. If you remember, a set of requirements for how the user should be able to interact with our website. Should have a doc type declaration, should have an HTML. Do you know what? Let's do that just like we did yesterday by focusing on each issue at a time. Divide and conquer. Command and Conquer is a video game, and I am not thinking about video games right now. I apologize. So doc type HTML. Actually, let's just do that. Oh, I love what Dan Marino says here. To understand that our job is not knowing every little thing, but knowing how to search and implement it. And that's correct. It's about our adaptability. It's about how we use our skills. So at the bottom of our user stories, you'll also find that we have tests. And you remember, this is where that test-driven development comes from. So we have a bunch of tests. And if I click on check your code, we'll see that some tests pass and some do not. So test number 1, your travel agency page should have a doc type HTML declaration. That test passed. So we pat ourselves on the back, pat, and we move on to the next test. So that test is failing. So I'll go back to my user stories by scrolling up. We should have an HTML element with the language set to EN. And remember to close your HTML element. Very good. By the way, in case you're not aware, in the editor, if you press tab, then you can indent your stuff further. But if you want to unindent it, you can press Shift and Tab to bring it backwards. I find that super helpful. So, right. HTML language set to EN. Let's scroll down and see. And we can see that more tests are passing. Pat. Folks, I don't want to bore you with doing all of this for you. Do you have any questions perhaps about this or the books is it bookstore, bookshop, the bookshelf? What is it? Bookstore. Do you have any questions about what came up or what's been going on there, or any comments? I would love to hear them, please. But all I want to say with this travel agency page is that it's the same thing. A series of user stories, and every time you complete one or you feel like you've completed one, check your code, check the tests. Test-driven development. So we got a question. Do you get a certificate when you're done with all of the free code camp sessions? If yes, what kind of certificate and what does it do? Well, a certificate's a certificate. It means you're certified. But a certificate is the certificate here is when you do the exam at the end of this certification here on Free Code Camp, you will get the certification for responsive web design, which you can then display on your portfolio. I think you can link to it in your LinkedIn or your social media, and and your CV or resume if you're on the other side of the Atlantic. Yeah, you're gonna find that it helps you have that. It's an sorry, English is my second language. Accreditation. It's credit. It makes you look good as a software developer. Cool. Well, folks, if there's no questions, let's move right on to the reading from yesterday and the concepts that we've picked up. So, before we do that, though, Dan Marino says tabs with 2 spaces are the only right ones. I have a fun fact for you, Dan. So, in case folks you're not familiar, often in software development, there's an argument. When I press tab, should my editor put in a tab character or 2 spaces, right? So I think this, yeah, see, when I press tab here, 2 spaces, 2 spaces, 2 spaces. However, other software developers say, no, actually, the tab character is much better. So instead of having 2 spaces, you just have a chunky space. That's called a tab character. And some people say, well, this is better, but this is better. I actually have an answer. And the answer is that tabs are actually better than spaces because they're accessible. Think of a screen reader when somebody's writing code, because people with visibility issues do, with visibility needs, do write code. And if they're writing code with a screen reader, you're going to hear space, and then the code. But if you use tabs, it's just going to be tab. And it's important to think about that when using a screen reader. It's the same with emojis. When you're writing content that's supposed to be accessible for an end user, emojis actually, when using a lot of them, can become cumbersome to listen to with a screen reader, because it's going to be like laughing man emoji, laughing woman emoji, facepalm woman emoji. I use that one a lot. But yeah, fun fact, huh? Anyway, let's do theory. I love nerding out about accessibility. So our first reading session is about the script element. And this is fun because this is kind of like our stepping stone into JavaScript. You're very welcome. I'm glad folks are finding that helpful. There's an article about it or two as well, or a research paper, I forget. But if you all look it up online, you'll find it. But yeah, so script, just like styles, we've seen a little bit of the styles element. Styles allowed us to write CSS into our HTML. Script allows us to write JavaScript or add JavaScript to our HTML. So let's talk about JavaScript for a minute. You've heard a lot about it, and a couple folks at the beginning of this bootcamp were being like, oh, why aren't we learning JavaScript? One step at a time, folks. Most websites, or pretty much all websites, are made up of 3 parts. HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. The secret 4th part being things like images, audio, and other stuff. Videos. But yeah, so HTML, remember, is our scaffolding. It's what content is in the website. CSS is the styling that makes fonts, that makes layouts, where things go. JavaScript makes websites dynamic. What does that mean? It's code that we can write that can interact with either our HTML or CSS to make it dynamic. So what does dynamic mean in this context? Most websites are static. That means that they don't move much. They don't interact much. There's some interactivity like buttons, the audio tag, which you're going to learn about in the homework tonight or this weekend. But when it comes to things that are much more interactive, that's where JavaScript comes in. And JavaScript is a programming language. And in case you've heard, JavaScript has nothing to do with the programming language Java. So no, not related, just similar names. JavaScript kind of came in, don't ask me when, I can't remember, late 90s or mid 90s, when somebody was like, oh goodness, we need a programming language for our websites. And apparently JavaScript was invented in 2 weeks. Which, if you're familiar with JavaScript, explains a few things. JavaScript has a reputation of being, what's the term? Let's go with controversial. It's got its quirks. All of that is to say, JavaScript, just like CSS, just like HTML, are the 3 biggest parts that make up a website. So going now into our HTML, we can see here we have a body tag, we have a script tag, and here we have some code. It says alert, brackets, welcome to Free Code Camp, quote marks, semicolon at the end. And that's, so everything inside the script tag is going to be interpreted as JavaScript. So we got a comment here that I really like. HTML is the closet, CSS is the color and size, and JavaScript is your ability to open and close it. I like that. If we expand a little bit on that, JavaScript is also your ability to take things in and out of the closet, move things inside the closet. Yeah. But back to our piece of code. It says, alert, welcome to Free Code Camp, but it doesn't do anything, and it's grayed out. You might be wondering why. This is because of these 2 symbols here. These 2 forward slashes tell the JavaScript interpreter, so the part that interprets what this JavaScript should do, it tells it, hey, wait, ignore this line. Everything that comes after the double slash, ignore it. This is called a comment. And inside a comment, allows us to leave ourselves notes, right? We can write whatever we like in here. 1 + 1 = 2. Doesn't mean any, the computer is going to ignore these lines. Bad website club learners are the best. See, the computer is going to ignore all of this. Not that you should. Y'all are the best, in fact. But yeah, but notice what happens when I remove that comment. So if I delete those double slashes and refresh here, y'all are going to do something, right? Open sandbox? Does that work? Cool. Let's take a look. Haha. Okay. So JavaScript from Code Sandbox.io, and we can see here, welcome to Free Code Camp. So this is an alert. It told our computer, hey, do a little pop-up menu at the top here, and it says, welcome to Free Code Camp. And we can write, just in case you're curious, anything we want in here. Sign in and fork and edit this sandbox. No, thank you. I don't want to open stuff. Bad website club. Might be temporarily down. Let's open Sandbox again. Yeah, see? Welcome to Bad Website Club. So yeah, we can do a little alert. And this is a little piece of how JavaScript works. What's really important in this section is to understand that everything inside the script is JavaScript, right? Oh, Dan's asking, can you explain different comment syntaxes for comments like HTML and CSS comments? Sure. Don't want to spend too much time on that because CSS is not where we're at yet, but In HTML, you can also write comment. Let's have a title here, for example. The H1. Thank you. Okay, I made a mess of this. I'm just going to refresh real quick. Great. Let's remove our script here for a bit. So we have a title, right? I'm sorry, I've just been informed that the alerts weren't showing up for everybody. So in HTML, you can also have comments via this syntax. So everything inside this syntax of bigger than, exclamation mark, dash dash, and then dash dash smaller than, that is a comment in HTML. I have no idea how to write comments in CSS. How to write CSS comments. Let me look it up real quick. Oh, cool. So to write a comment in CSS, so style. Thank you, Dan. So, I don't know. H1 color red. So if you use /* and then */, that's how you write a comment in CSS. And we don't know if that serves for multi-line. Well, only one way to find out. Yep. So yes, it's good for multi-lines. I would love it if there was common unity between languages. Yeah, I would love a lot of stuff of unity between languages. Even names are not consistent between languages. For example, this is getting a little ahead. In JavaScript, we have these things, these data structures called arrays, which are like a list of, giving away the spoiler, that are like several things in a row, one after the other. In Python, those are called lists. In Ruby, those are called arrays. In Objective-C, those are called NS arrays, and so on and so forth. We just accept that we don't know anything. And our superpower, again, is not memorizing things. Our superpower is applying existing knowledge in different contexts. I went on a ramble. Now, we can write JavaScript inside a script tag. But what we can also do is refer to a JavaScript tag. Sorry, let me try that again. Refer to a JavaScript file in a script tag. My brain is not braining today. Okay, we can refer to a JavaScript file from a script tag. Now, why would we want to do this? JavaScript files, especially these days, can become quite large. Modern web applications can have hundreds of thousands of lines of JavaScript. Now imagine having an HTML file with hundreds of thousands of lines of JavaScript in them. This can become very difficult to maintain. Imagine opening a file that is hundreds of thousands of lines long. So what people do is they will extract a JavaScript file and then refer to it from the HTML. This is called separation of concerns. HTML is for HTML, CSS files are for CSS, and JavaScript files are for JavaScript. This helps us code not necessarily more cleanly per se. Our code still needs to be clean in order for it to be clean. However, it becomes easier to navigate. If I need to fix some JavaScript, I know where to go. So that's the benefits of separation of concerns. So let's do the quiz now. Which attribute is used to link to an external JavaScript file? I appreciate some answers, please. But yeah, and you might see, especially as you get into web development, that there's even fancier ways of referring to JavaScript files that are almost automated for us. I would recommend not concerning ourselves with that right now. Oh, here we go. Everybody's saying SRC. That is correct. Thank you. Ooh, so what is the separation of concerns? Yes. So we've got about making sure everybody has their own clear responsibilities, design principle where you separate your programs into distinct sections and have each section address a separate concern, active combining all aspects of a program into a single module, and dividing tasks between team members without considering how they might overlap or affect each other. And everybody's saying number 2. Lucy here saying design principle where you separate your programs. Thank you. Which of the following is the correct syntax for linking to an external JavaScript file? And I think, unless I'm mistaken, y'all are going to tell me. So we've got script with div, script with alt, script with src, and script with defer. Which one are we thinking here? We've got number 3. Thank you, folks. Let's check our answers, and they're all correct. We pat ourselves on the back. Pat, pat. And we'll move now on to the meta description, which, hold on, I already pre-zoomed in on another tab. My tabs are a mess today. So let's talk a little bit about search engine optimization, or SEO. And I think we've touched upon it with Jess and also briefly yesterday. And SEO is essentially a way of making sure that our websites are compliant with the standards of the web in such a way that they will rank higher on search engines when people look something up. So for example, let's say I offer services in web development. I want to make sure that my website has really good ways of indicating to search engines, hey, this website is for somebody who sells web development services, right? And there's numerous ways of doing this. And over the last couple decades, there's been a lot of books written on how to do it. And there's even people, did I say evil? I did not mean evil. There's even people who make a living out of being SEO consultants. These days, y'all might think of SEO, or you might hear of SEO as something that's a bit of a lost art because AI is perhaps taking over and making things more relevant. But believe it or not, AI also can be, SEO can also be tremendously relevant to AI, because AI crawls the internet not too dissimilarly to how search engine, I think they're called crawlers, do. So if your website is relevant to what the AI stuff is doing, chances are search engine optimization helped with that. So how can we flag this? A couple of ways of doing this is with semantic HTML. Being clear, remember yesterday we were talking about semantic HTML. Sections, titles, sections, titles, a main element, article element. Instead of just using divs, we're telling, web crawlers. Yes, web crawlers are these programs that search through all of these websites to make sure that they're relevant for search engines. Thank you, me can't spell. But yeah, titles, elements, what else? Using buttons instead of divs. All of this stuff makes it really relevant to the search engine web crawler to say, this website is well built and relevant. And of course, there's more ways to do this. And a lot of that comes down to the meta tag or the meta element. You might hear me say tag or element. They're the same thing in this context. So in this example here, we have a meta tag with the name attribute set to description and the content set to discovered expert tips for and techniques for gardening. Okay, that's a long description. But yeah, relevant to gardening. And the description is one of the main ways of telling a web crawler, like, this is what my website is about. You want to make sure it's relevant. And on search engines like Google or DuckDuckGo, the description actually gets shown in below the title of your website. So really, really good to fill out the description tag, the description meta element, right? A lot of search engines will also automatically grab text. So don't over rely on the meta description, but it's good to have. It's also relevant to AI. So shall we do this one again? Which element is used to set the description for a web page? There's lots of other of these. We saw it with char set, for example, setting to UTF-8. And what else was there? I think you can also set... Oh, never mind. Folks are already bringing it in. To meta. Yes. Thank you. What does SEO stand for? I think I already said search engine optimization, so I'll skip that one. Now, where does a page's description typically pop up? This one I want you all to answer. For me, I also gave you all the answer, but I want to give you all the answers. Let's see what people got. But yeah, what's important with this meta descriptions is, as said, to indicate to other programs what your website is about. And people are saying number 3 in the search engine results. It is indeed number 3. Thank you all, Pat. We'll do, it's only one more reading, right? The role of open graph tags. Now, open graph tags, I'm gonna say, before we do, Lucy's asking, how many meta elements do websites typically use? I'm gonna gently, lovingly call you out on one thing. You said you used the word typically. And for better or for worse, Lucy, the only thing that's typical about all websites is that they're atypical. There's no such thing as consistency. You might hear about this notion of best practices. It changes every 3 years. So I would recommend perhaps not to stress yourself too much about like, oh, should I have all of them? I'm not saying that the question is bad. The question is excellent. But I really want to drive home that, like, yeah, let's not over focus on how many are typically. The best way to look at how many are typically used is by looking at, for example, Free Code Camp. Oh gosh, this is enormous. That's a bit too enormous, I would say. Can y'all read this? I would say so. If it's too small, let me know. But yeah, let's see here in the web inspector, how many meta tags does Free Code Camp have? 1, 2, 3. Oh, this one's relevant. This one's we're going to learn more about when we start doing CSS. So we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. I'm actually really glad you asked this, Lucy, because it actually shows us relevant meta tags, meta elements for what we're going to go through now, which is the open graph tags. Because you see here, there's a couple, like, hang on. Here, property OG image set to an image from Free Code Camp. Let's take a look at it, because why not? I'm just going to copy and paste it. Cool. It's a Free Code Camp logo. Nice. As many as you need, I guess. Yeah, I think that's a good answer. Thank you, Lucy. OG description, OG title. This OG stands for Open Graph. So let's talk about what Open Graph is. Open Graph is just referred to this a couple days ago. Y'all might remember a standard. So it's like an agreed upon structure or mechanism for how we can share data of a website when we link to it. What do I mean? If you've ever gone to LinkedIn and you've seen that somebody puts a link to something, there could be an image that shows up, there could be a title that shows up, and a description that shows up. This is called the Open Graph metadata. And there's lots of different things we can use for it. So for example, if we set this to be freecodecamp.org for the OG title, then when we linked to FreeCodeCamp on, say, gosh, I don't know, Mastodon, I'm a big fan, for social media or on Instagram or something, it'll automatically show that it's from freecodecamp.org. That is the title. We can also tell it, thank you, Edda, join Mastodon. You can also tell it what type it is. And you might be wondering, hang on, a type? Isn't it always a website? Well, not necessarily. It could be something else, like, say, a PDF file. Anyway, PDF. Oh, here we go. Articles, websites, videos, or music. Cool. The other one's the image. Y'all heard me mention that one before. So when you share a link, it'll know, like, oh, display the link with this nice image. You might have seen that a lot of blog posts have these like header images. These usually also get, these could be also displayed as Open Graph images. The fourth important one is the URL. Now, why would we want to set the URL? So here we have https freecodecamp.org. That tells us where this link is coming from and can be very relevant as well. So let's do the Q&A here. What are Open Graph properties used for? Can somebody tell me? I know y'all are there. It's Friday. It's tiring. Let's see what we got. For embedding interactive multimedia content directly into web pages, to set how your website's content will be seen on different social media platforms. I already see the twos coming in. Is it two? Is it two? Yes, it is number 2. Thank you so much. What does the property OG title do in the meta element? We've got adjust the font size, directs the browser to display a specific emoticon, causes the website to play a specific audio file, specifies the title of your web page content when it is shared on social media platforms. So I'd love to hear from y'all. Which one is it? And it's coming in. It's number 4. That is correct. Thank you, folks. And the last one. What does OG type do in meta elements? We've got sets the page's default font style, triggers a pop-up advertisement. I hope not. Specifies the type of content, or sets the background based on the user's time zone. And folks are saying it already. It's number 3. Check our answers. Looks great. Pat. Well, folks, that is our reading. We've already been through a little bit of the travel agency page. We're actually done a little early. Hope that's okay. If y'all have got any last minute questions, feel free to bring them in. But let's do some homework for the weekend, please. So we'll be back on Monday, same time. So your homework will be to complete the travel agency page. Please read the working with audio and video elements. We will preview build an HTML music player, recording all of your questions. We will preview building an HTML video player. And then we will complete HTML and audio player on your own. So lesson for today is done. Yeah, unless y'all have any lingering question. What's my fave meta tag? Oh no, I don't know. This is where I should be clever and have something about accessibility ready. And there probably is. Actually, yes. Where was that viewport one? Hang on. Let me grab it real quick. Meta Viewport. Yeah. Excellent. Okay, let me bring up. Make this a little larger. Oh, I'm sorry, me can't spell. Yes. So this is my favorite one because it enables being friendly for mobile devices. You might have noticed sometimes websites look really, really small on a mobile device if not developed correctly. And this here tells it, hey, you should be able to display on a phone. Here's how. Really, 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 really important. Good question. Thank you. Description is good for accessibility. Yeah, totally. It makes it accessible to folks, for example, who are using search engines. Dan Marino's asking, are we allowed to share a public repo with which only contains the projects from the bootcamp as we do them in the Discord channel with the team? I know that in the free Codecamp forum, you're not allowed to share answers. I'm not 100% sure if you're allowed. I would ask that as a question in the free Codecamp Discord. I personally would say no, not a problem, but just double check just in case. But I think, having a GitHub repository where you're like sharing your progress, super, super handy, and also a really good way to teach Git, for example. And here's the link to the Bootcamp discussion channel. Folks, before I go, next week, we've got our usual sessions, but we also have our first guest session on May the 6th at 2 p.m. UTC. So that's an hour before our usual lesson, where we're going to have Terrence teach us what can you do with SVGs? Check it out. Gonna be super fun. Yeah, we'll be back. I'll be back to teach y'all on Monday. And I'm really looking forward to it. I think that covers everything. If you missed anything, don't forget to go on youtube.com/@badwebsiteclub. Folks, how about we go have a weekend, huh? It's been a lot. And I hope it's been enjoyable and that you've been learning along with us. I just want to remind you, don't become frustrated if you find that you're not memorizing things. Just to remind you, we have documentation for a reason. Learning to use it is the important part. I'm going to go rest. I hope the rest of y'all will do the same. It was really great hanging out with all of you. Take care. Bye.